They knew all of the Jewish stories. So let's listen to the letter he writes when he's introducing himself to a queen. From me, King Solomon, the bird made it there and gave it to her. So from me, King Solomon, peace be with thee, peace be to the nobles of thy realm. Know that God has appointed me king over the beasts of the field, birds of the air, demons, spirits, and all the specters. All the kings of the east and the west come to bring me greetings. If thou wilt come and salute me, I shall show thee great honor, more than any of the kings that attend me. But if thou wilt not pay homage to me, I shall send out kings, legions, riders against thee. Thou ask, who are these kings, legions, and riders of King Solomon? The beasts of the field are my kings, the birds are my riders, the demons, the spirits, and the shades of the night are my legions. The demons will throttle you in your beds at night, while the beasts will slay you in the field, and the birds will consume your flesh. What a friendly greeting, right? Like, hi, well, nice to meet you. So she said it'll take 7 years to get there. But she said, I'll try to hasten, make it quicker, and I'll try to make it to Jerusalem by the end of 3 years. If Solomon had all these things like magic carpets, the bird got there pretty quick, right? Why couldn't he, like he had all this wisdom, he couldn't send something to pick her up, like a magic carpet Uber? Why this huge time period? So the Queen of Sheba starts to get ready for all this stuff, right? She assembled all her ships of the sea and loaded them with the finest kinds of wood, pearls, precious stones. Together with these, she sent Solomon 6,000 youths and maidens, born in the same year, in the same month, on the same day, in the same hour. So if you're wondering why that would matter, what day, month, year, hour they were born, it's because Solomon kept track of everybody's time of birth, their astrological thing, and he could tell by the stars, the planets, like your when you would die, when you would live, how much money you would make, the type of person you would marry, if they would be rich or poor, all kinds of stuff like that. So that was a big deal to him, and that's why that's included in there. All of equal stature and size, all clothed in purple garments. Imagine you're just like a person like living out your life. You're just kicking back one day and you're like drinking lemonade on your patio. It's like the Queen of Sheba sends you a notice. Hey, because of the day you were born, sorry if you had any plans for your life. You have to take this journey at the end of 3 years to be a servant of a king in a place you never heard of and do whatever he says for the rest of your life. Sorry about that. Oh yeah, and there's going to be 5,999 others just like you that I'm just going to rip away from their families, their lives. So how cool is that? So she sent all these people with her on these ships, and then she arrives there. First of all, King Solomon sent a servant ahead of him to greet them as they got close. And this is what it says about that servant. His name was Benaiah, was like unto the flush of the eastern sky at the break of day. He was like unto the evening star that outshines all others, like a lily growing by the brooks of the river. When the queen caught sight of him, she descended from her chariot to do him honor, and he asked her, like, why did you get out of your chariot? She's like, aren't you King Solomon? Because he was like, I don't know, like this shining, beautiful thing. No, I'm just a servant. So then when she meets King Solomon, Benaiah conducted the queen to Solomon, who had gone to sit in a house of glass to receive her. The queen was deceived by an illusion. She thought that the king was sitting in the water, and as she stepped across the water to him, she raised her garment to keep it dry. On her bare feet the king noticed hair, and he said to her, Thy beauty is the beauty of a woman, but thy hair is masculine. Hair is an ornament to a man, but it disfigures a woman. So that's the first thing he says to her is, you got hairy legs? She comes all the way across, does all this stuff, makes this trip, sends him 6,000 people that she basically, in a nice word, they say sent to him, but it's kind of like abducted, and sent him all these like riches and golden stuff. And he's like, hey, you got hairy legs. That's the first thing out of his mouth. Slap. But he's a king. You can't, right? I guess she's like the ruler of the south. Like south of the whole world. So when he was building the temple, he ended up they claim that he had a ring that was given to him straight out of heaven by the archangel Michael. And he could control all these demons and stuff. And one of the demons outsmarted Solomon and launched him to a whole nother land, took the ring, and made himself an illusion that he was King Solomon. And I think that lasted 7 years. I'm going to abridge the rest of these, but after he gets thrown across to another land by this demon thing that stole his ring, Solomon meets up with people that don't know who he is, but a couple of them do. One guy's a rich guy that has him over to eat dinner and hang out at his house and stuff. And the guy, obviously Solomon is super depressed because he has no like standing in the community there. He's a beggar. He's, basically like just poor and homeless. The guy that gives him all this, like makes him a banquet, just starts talking about how awesome his kingdom was and in the past, like how great everything was, but offers him no comfort besides, like the food in the house. And then later on, Solomon goes to a poor man's house, and the poor guy can't give him a lot of food or any kind of like physical comforts, but he starts reassuring Solomon that he'll get his kingdom back, right? He's like, well, God made a promise. I guess he quotes like a promise in the Torah or something that I don't remember every word. And that kind of cheered him up, right? So Solomon is attributed to writing a lot of Proverbs, and they believe in Ecclesiastics. Like a lot of these are attributed to Solomon. Solomon had to go 7 years like without, imagine getting all that ripped away from you. It's just strange that he couldn't, like, with all his wisdom and knowledge, he couldn't start doing all these magic things again, like the illusions and what happened to his magic carpet. What about talking to animals? Like, he couldn't ride an animal. He couldn't speak to the animals anymore. That's why some of these things I don't know how much of this is true, because some of it doesn't make sense. He should have the ability to talk to animals and get them to do what he wants. I thought he was in control of the spirits and stuff. Can't any of these things help him? Why is he so helpless just because he gets thrown to another country? These are some of the questions I would have about that. So I'll keep going. The temple, a big part of this, he used the demons with that magic ring. So eventually he gets that ring back. I think the demon throws it in the sea and somebody finds it in a fish and Solomon puts it back on, and all of a sudden it's like he forms Voltron back, right? He just has all his power back. A lot of Solomon's abilities aren't attributed to this one ring. It's not like he puts on this ring and he gets all his like wisdom. It's strange. The throne. So the throne is some kind of technological wonder. The throne is put together by some of the highest work ever seen. It's put together with like marble, jeweled with emeralds, rubies, pearls, all manners of gems. It has 6 steps, and on each step there's a golden lion, golden eagle. It says all these things. I don't know if there's an extra line. It says a lion and an eagle to the left, a lion and eagle to the right, standing face to face. The right paw of the lion is opposite the left wing. They have all these things, and then as somebody walks up to the throne, it seems like these animals can like protect it from somebody that doesn't follow the rules of kingship or something like that. So it says, like, as somebody approaches the machinery, so they call this actual, like, machinery, like tech. The machinery of the throne rumbled, the wheels turned, the ox lowed. I don't know what loud means. It's Lowed. The lion roared, the wolf howled, the lamb bleated. The leopard growled, the goat cried, the falcon screamed, the peacock gobbled, the cock crowed, the hawk screeched, the sparrow chirped. So there's all these things to terrify the witness and to keep them from giving false testimony. When Solomon set foot upon the first step to ascend the seat, its machinery was put into motion. The golden ox arose and led him to the second step, and there passed him over to the care of the beast guarding it. And he was conducted step to the sixth, where the eagles received him and placed him upon his seat. One of the jobs of these animal creatures, or all of these animal creatures, was to protect the throne from a king trying to go up there. Some of them bashed other kings and smashed them to the ground and stuff. After Solomon died and other kings tried to use the throne, they hit him and stuff. As soon as he was seated, the great eagle set the royal crown upon his head, and a huge snake rolled itself up against the machinery, forcing the lions and eagles upward until they encircled the head of the king. So there's all this stuff. It's all kinds of stuff. It was the task of the 7 heralds to keep Solomon reminded of his duties of king and judge. Check this out. There's law for the kings. He shall not multiply wives unto himself. Well, Solomon, they say he had 700 wives, right? And the second step, he shall not multiply horses to himself. It says that Solomon had a bunch of horses. At third, the next one, neither shall he greatly multiply to himself silver and gold. It says that Solomon was the richest person ever. At the fourth, thou shalt not wrest judgment, not be a respecter of persons. There's all these other things. He shall not take a gift, be a fair judge. There was all kinds of things. The other one's kind of funny. So he's flying around on his magic carpet. He picks up an ant. And Solomon says, is there anyone greater in all the world? Yes, said the ant. Oh, it's the queen of the ants, right? Make no mistake. Solomon, who? Ant. I am Solomon. How is that possible? Ant, if I were not greater than thou, God would not have let thee hither to put me on thy hand. Exasperated, Solomon threw her to the ground and said, Knowest thou who I am? I am Solomon, the son of David. Not at all intimidated, the ant reminded the king of his earthly origin and admonished him to humility, and the king went off abashed. My question would be, how did we get this transcription of this conversation between Solomon and the ant? Because I thought the rule was if somebody could talk to the animals, they weren't allowed to disclose what they heard to a human being. It would kill them, right? That's one of the rules from before. There's another part where Solomon works really hard to get into some kind of building that he found or something, and he couldn't get in. And then when he finally found the way in, he finds a lifelike statue, and it had all these characters, and he couldn't read it. And then finally somebody came and told him that these letters are Greek, and he translated it for King Solomon. And it says, I, Shaddad ben Ad, I don't know who that is, but he tells who he is, ruled over 1,000 provinces, rode on 1,000 horses, had 1,000 kings under me, and slew 1,000 heroes. And when the angel of death approached me, I was powerless. That's one of the last parts. There's a lot more to this, but I don't want to make this podcast into split up into a whole bunch of parts. But yeah, check it out. I'm reading from sacred-text.com, and there's a lot of this stuff. But you click on Solomon, and he has a lot of this. It's a pretty decent read. There's audiobooks on this too as well. You can check out. I thought that this was an interesting little glitch that somebody talked about, and I kind of put a little answer to it. This is somebody I don't know. They just posted this on one of these Glitch in the Matrix forums on Reddit. So I believe this was a random, very lucky coincidence, but this is what happened today. We were in the car, and I started singing an old tune from the 1980s, and he quotes it. One night in Bangkok, and the world's your oyster. At this point, my spouse turned the car radio on, and the song continued from that exact spot. The bars are temples, but the pearls ain't free. We spent the next 20 minutes trying to figure out how the hell that happened. Did I hear a random radio that was tuned to the same station? But we were on the highway. Was our radio glitching and it was on the whole time, but at such a low volume I could not consciously hear it, but maybe I did hear it on a subconscious level? I have no idea. Well, I'm just going to read my answer because it seemed to kind of fit. So I wrote here, quote, there's a section in Aquarian Conspiracy, that's a book by, her name is Ferguson, Aquarian Conspiracy, where she talks about doctors studying the brain and consciousness. One of the parts of either chapter 6 or 7, I'm not sure which one, mentions that they conclude that the brain itself acts more like a radio than like an organ in the body. One of the doctors mentions a part of the brain that acts like a dial tuner. Before cell phones in the 1990s, FM radio was a thing when driving, and for some reason, and I oftentimes had that song kind of stuck in my head moments before turning to the radio station that was playing it. Even songs I didn't necessarily like or enjoy, or songs that were played a lot. But oftentimes it was slightly before the song started playing on the radio. Like I would have the song in my head, then turn the station and hear the intro of said song. So it wasn't radio waves, it was just weird. It happened constantly in the 90s until the 3mm jack was invented. We kind of talk about something else. Then it goes on to, anyways, it was weird. I just wish there was something useful to come out of it or be able to control it. But no, it was just random. I'd like to thank everybody for checking out the podcast. My Patreon is patreon.com/ParadoxWalk. The music is Downbeat88. The intro track is called The Dark. The outro is called Moment of Peace. And remember to click the RSS feed if you want to put it into your app and just have every episode pop up. Alright, well, I'd like to thank my first Patreon, Roxy, and thanks a lot. And I'm also on Amazon Podcasts, Spotify, and YouTube, and BitChute. Alright, have a good day. Thanks for listening. Bye.